Yo, the fifth richest country in Africa just unbanned Bitcoin. Is this the starting of the FOMO wave? Is this the so-called Bitcoin hash war that Max Kaiser is talking about? I mean, we have to remember Ethiopia recently joined BRICS earlier on this year, and they made a public announcement that their government is mining Bitcoin. So this is a trend that we're seeing worldwide. It's extremely exciting. And again, this is the incentives coming into play. I mean, we heard an announcement recently that the official that was responsible for the China mining ban was recently fired. And it seems like this trend, this global trend of regulators reversing their course on Bitcoin continues to happen. And this, again, to emphasize, this is happening on a global scale. So what country am I talking about today? I'm talking about the country of Morocco. Again, it's one of the wealthiest in terms of GDP in Africa. And this is very exciting. This is very interesting. And again, if you see the news by itself, I think it's a nothing burger. But if you connect the pieces with what's happening on an international level, it's extremely exciting. So anyways, here's the headline article by Reuters. Morocco preparing law to allow cryptocurrencies, central bank chief says. It continues to say, a draft law on cryptocurrencies is undergoing the process of adoption in Morocco. The governor of its central bank, oh my God. Do you want to take a hit at that?
No, I'll pass.
Okay, so the governor of its central bank said, cryptocurrencies had been banned in Morocco since 2017, but the public continues to use them underground, circumventing restrictions. I mean, I could have told you that was the case either ways. So, and I think Opti, you were the one that coined this, right? You can't ban yourself from Bitcoin. You can only, you can't ban Bitcoin. You can only ban yourself from Bitcoin. So it goes on to say the central bank known as Bank Al Gharib, quote, has prepared a draft law regulating crypto assets, which is currently in the adoption process. Continues to say Bank Al Gharib was also exploring a CBDC. Quote, regarding central bank digital currencies, and like many countries around the world, we're exploring to what extent this new form of currency could contribute to achieving certain public policy objectives, that's central bank speak, particularly in terms of financial inclusion. Quote, a CBDC is controlled by the central bank, in contrast to cryptocurrencies that are usually decentralized. So, I mean, so a couple kind of interesting things that I've noticed. You're still getting the framing from legacy media that we somehow need this central bank. Like the central bank is a fact of life. You need it, or, you know, society's going to melt down. It's like, you need this thing. This thing is good for you. Where we have to shift it. This is where we have to come in. We really have to shift this Overton window. And you're seeing this dramatically when it comes to media. We're going to play you guys a clip today during the numbers where you have the CEO of one of the biggest like publishers have a literal meltdown because of Elon and social media. And the reason that's happening is something that we've been talking about over the last 7 months, which is what I coined the great disintermediation, which is really started by the internet. And the internet is allowing mass scale peer-to-peer communications. And because of that, what you're seeing is a lot of people, instead of relying on these centralized kind of media sources, they're starting to do their own research, and they're starting to, you know, not take what the mainstream media is saying as fact. And it's like, okay, let me just kind of look into this more. And if you apply that same logic to money, which I think is the next step in the great disintermediation, I think it's inevitable. I think we're going to get to a point, a critical mass, just like we reach with social media, where enough people are just not using central bank money anymore. But I think the big deal of that is how much the central bank plays in the role of government and funding that said government. So I think, look at how much they freaked out with social media. Look at how much they wanted to censor. Look how much they still want to censor. I think the next step is going to be even crazier, right? But again, like, it's really exciting because, you know, I think countries around the world are realizing this thing isn't going to go away. As much as governments want it to go away, as much as central banks want it to go away, can't make it go away. And if your citizens are choosing to opt out of your currency and they're choosing to use something like Bitcoin, like, you know, you're in trouble, right? So again, it's very exciting. And again, you're in trouble, but this is beneficial for the citizens. I don't know what the inflation rate of Morocco was. But again, I think if fiat money was great, I don't think Bitcoin would have ever been invented. And I think if fiat money was stable as much as they say it is, I don't think the incentive would be there for people to seek an alternative in the first place. So anyways, really, really exciting stuff. Not surprising. Opti, what do you think? I mean, bro, this is like the year of Bitcoin being undefeated. Like I feel Trump's voice in my head. Like, you guys are going to win. You guys are going to win so big. You guys won't stop winning. Like, I mean, this pump started with Trump. This is the Trump pump. I mean, it's not really a Trump pump anymore. But anyways, exciting stuff. What's your take, Opti?
Yeah, well, I find it very interesting that we have another example of a country, or rather an institution, bending the knee to Bitcoin. And, you know, I'm still of the mind that it is the halving cycle pump, but we will attribute it to the Trump pump because, you know, it's very obvious now, I think, in hindsight, that a lot of capital was waiting to see what was going to happen with the U.S. elections. And ever since Trump came out as being, you know, pro crypto, it has fundamentally started this global hash war. Now, everyone around the world has to take Bitcoin seriously. If America embraces Bitcoin, that's going to fundamentally change the game, not just for Bitcoiners, but globally around the world in regards to world reserve currencies and traditional finance. And so you're seeing that ever since that domino has been kicked down, or rather, you know, dropped down, every other country now has to bend the knee to Bitcoin. And we've been saying this as a meme in the Bitcoin space for a long time, that everyone will eventually bend the knee to Bitcoin. They will have to kiss the ring because, like you said, Bitcoin's not going away. It's actually becoming more adopted in every corner of the world. Obviously, the price is going up, which is making more people FOMO into Bitcoin, more people having to take Bitcoin seriously. And in the culture, I'm going to show, you know, I'm going to do a back-to-back comparison of what the unproductive class thinks about Bitcoin and what Main Street's starting to think about Bitcoin. And they're two totally different forks in the road. Some people are still doubling down on the fact that Bitcoin has no use case. And other people are like, wait, maybe I was wrong on Bitcoin. And now you're seeing that this isn't just happening on, you know, from the top down, but the top is starting to realize, or rather, you know, the people in charge are starting to realize, well, hey, man, we have to embrace Bitcoin because not only is it going to hurt our citizens, but now they're all kind of getting that FOMO wave coming, and it is starting to feel like a 2020 or 2017 type bull run here. It might be an earlier type bull run where everyone is starting to change course on Bitcoin. And obviously, this is good for everyone in regards to number go up. Now, as long as Bitcoin can maintain its decentralized, censorship-resistant status, then obviously it's going to be good for freedom go up. So one of my roommates, or not roommates, sorry, one of my neighbors out here, he's Moroccan, and he always tells me how much he loves Morocco. And so it's going to be very interesting to have a conversation with him now in regards to Bitcoin or crypto adoption in Morocco. Though there is, you know, again, I'm the reigning tinfoil hat guy here, so it is very interesting that they use the framing of cryptocurrency assets and how they're changing course on that. Obviously, they went from banning it in 2017 to now having to take it very seriously. It's still in the first stages. And then, of course, connecting that with CBDCs. So it is kind of, I'm hesitant on this because if they're kind of connecting CBDCs with cryptos, obviously we've seen this playbook play out before in the past where like a cryptocurrency is essentially a CBDC, and this is why they need to embrace the CBDC. So it's going to be interesting to see what this legislation actually entails. But it just goes to show that everyone has to now bend the knee to Bitcoin. They have to take Bitcoin seriously. And ever since, I forget when that crypto hub announcement from Trump was, it was like June or July or whatever. Everyone has to take this Bitcoin thing very seriously. It's becoming one of the hot button topics in the popular zeitgeist. I'm seeing so many like TikToks and Instagrams now of people talking about Bitcoin. And maybe it's just because I'm so, you know, like I'm so plugged into the Bitcoin space that now when I see normies talk about Bitcoin, I find it very interesting because for 2021, we were still the laughing jokes here. You know, we were still the laughing stock. And now everyone's talking about Bitcoin. you know, they're all kind of going through their shitcoin phase right now. So it's very interesting, to say the least, that the public consciousness is changing around Bitcoin. And if countries are starting to embrace Bitcoin, maybe we're going to see another country soon follow suit after El Salvador. And, you know, if Morocco's, well, technically it might be the third one, because we do have the Central African Republic that kind of did their announcement on that and nothing really happened afterwards. But you know, Morocco's a bigger GDP than El Salvador. And so if these dominoes start falling, it's only a matter of time until we see some of the biggest countries in the world fully embrace Bitcoin. And hey, that might be the US in a month or so. So things are happening fast. I mean, I was just saying to Nico before the show, like, man, this is getting kind of crazy. Like, things are happening really fast right now. And it feels like 2025 is going to be nuts. And, you know, it's just a gut feeling, but there's so much data points going on right now in the Bitcoin space that I feel like we're like, our heads are going to spin by how high the Bitcoin price is going to go in 2025. But everyone's still thinking 150. And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's starting to get crazy. It's starting to feel wild right now. So, hey, we're here for it. We'll be on the front lines covering all this stuff. But yeah, it's getting nuts, Nico. Things are happening very fast as far as I'm concerned.
100%, man. I think I agree with you, man. I'm feeling, because it's like, you know, like the Wall Street cheat sheet, right? You know, so you're supposed to feel euphoric at the peak. I feel nothing. We hit 100K. And I was like, I feel nothing. I feel empty inside. So, you know, I think the price definitely needs to get crazy before you start to get into that mania phase that, you know, Bitcoin tends to historically hit a year after the halving. So yeah, I'm really excited for 2025. And I think the differentiating factor from all the other cycles is how much Bitcoin, what you were saying, Opti, is in the kind of popular like mindset. Like, you just hear it. Like, you hear it in, like, every day. You hear governments talking about it. You hear about unbannings. Michael Saylor is crushing it on Wall Street. Wall Street's not going to be able to resist that for very long, right? So anyways, guys, if you guys are enjoying the show, there's about 1,200 of you guys watching live between YouTube and X. Make sure to smash that like button. And of course, shout out to our Rumble audience as well. If you guys are enjoying the show, like I said, smash that like button. Really, really helps with the algos. Anyways, guys, we have tons of news that we're going to talk about today. Like I said, the legacy media meltdown. I mean, if you guys haven't seen this video, it's nuts. And I'm telling you that this is the end of what people call the mainstream media. I haven't been calling them for that for a long time. Call them the legacy media, but you're really starting to see them break a little bit. And what's really ahead of this is actually really exciting, because I think it's the era of kind of decentralized media, or what Elon Musk called citizen journalism. So we're going to talk about that. And also Rumble, so the alternative video platform, which we're currently streaming to right now, announced that they're going to put part of their treasury into Bitcoin. And of course, Michael Saylor congratulating them on X. Just really exciting stuff all around. So guys, stay tuned. Anyways, before we jump into the show, I do want to give a shout out to Simply Bitcoin's lead sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. So what makes Bitcoin Well different than all the other on-ramps? Well, it's a completely non-custodial platform, meaning as soon as you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, it gets, as soon as the funds clear, it gets transferred to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address, which perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state. Head over to bitcoinwell.com to get started. Also, if you're a higher net worth individual and you're looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more, check out bitcoinwell.com/OTC. It's called Bitcoin Well Infinite. And again, it's a white glove service tailored for high net worth individuals that are looking to buy large amounts of Bitcoin. If you're tired of dealing with Coinbase or that like UI and you want to deal with a human being, you want to have a sales rep that you deal with, you have any questions about self-custody, any questions about buying or selling, check out Bitcoin Well Infinite. Again, to get started, go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC, or you can send me an email at nico@bitcoinwell.com. All right, everybody, let's hit the news. We have tons to talk about. Let's check it out. Here we go. I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today. Everybody, so do you want to maintain the relationship with the future generations, or do you want them to look at you in a good light? You do, right? So that's why you should stamp your seed on a stamp seed on titanium instead of writing down your seed words on paper. That's a terrible idea. Stamp it into titanium. You only have to do it once. It's going to stand the test of time. Don't mess around with your seed words because your seed words are essentially your Bitcoin. Head over to stampseed.com today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 50% off. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 93,660. Block height 872,099. Sats per dollar 1,068. Market cap 1.85 trillion. Bitcoin price in gold 35.6 ounces. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 10.14%. Percentage issued 94.22%. Decline from all-time high 6.1%. Realized monetary inflation 1.19%. Man, that decline from all-time high feels a lot bigger than this 6.1, but it's important to keep perspective because you see the mood changing on Bitcoin Twitter. You see people just like, oh my God, Bitcoin's over. This was the pump. Look, I might be wrong here. No one knows, but no effing way. That was the top, bro. And if that was, it's going to be a brutal ass bear market. It's going to be terrible. Anyways, guys, so let's check out this video and then we'll talk about it.
Everything we do is under fire. Elon Musk sits on Twitter every day, or X today, saying like, we are the media, you are the media. My message to Elon Musk is bullshit. You're not the media. You having a blue check mark, a Twitter handle, and 300 words of cleverness doesn't make you a reporter. Any more than me looking at your head and seeing that you have a brain and telling you have an awesome set of tools makes me a damn neurosurgeon, right? Like what we do, what journalists do, what you did in Mississippi, what Al Jazeera does in the Middle East. You don't proclaim yourself to be a reporter. Like that's nonsense. Like being a reporter is hard, really hard. You have to care. You have to do the hard work. You have to get up every single day and say, I want to get to the closest approximation of the truth without any fear, without any favoritism. You don't do that by popping off on Twitter. You don't do that by having an opinion. You do it by doing the hard work.
Yeah, come on, slow clap, everybody. Whoa. First of all, I've got to say, extraordinary content. It needed to be said.
Yeah.
It continues to need to be said. When all of the garbage is flying around on social media, lying about reporters, lying about the hard work they do, lying about the hard work editors do, lying about everything up and down about not only their alternative set of facts, but alternative set of facts about what people like you do.
Okay, so a couple things here, right? So it's not that, Elon and X is just raising in popularity and all of a sudden people just stop trusting in the media. The problem is that if you've been paying attention for the last 5 years, these people on TV haven't exactly been the most honest people. And what's happened is that now there's an alternative, and that alternative is providing what journalists should provide, which is the truth. And I think a lot of people have waken up to this idea that, wait a second, like, are these journalists or are these propagandists, right? And I think human beings naturally are attracted to truth, and they naturally want to seek truth. And when you're tuning on TV and they're telling you something, but you're like, that's not true. I think there was very limited ways in the past for you to discuss these ideas on a mass scale, or for you to kind of seek truth. Like, it was just like the New York Times posted an article and you would take it as fact and you're like, okay, that's it. With social media, and you're seeing this, they would post an article and then the article would get fact checked in 30 seconds or in community noted. And then they would essentially have a meltdown and say, no, I'm the one who gets to determine what the truth is. That's not the case. The truth is the truth. And the people that report the truth are going to get the numbers. They're going to get the clicks. They're going to get the attention. I think that if journalists were in the business of telling the truth, I don't think that it's the same with fiat money. I think if central banks are responsible with fiat money and they weren't in the business of printing fiat money, I don't think people would be so desperate to find an alternative. It's the same with journalism. I think that if the media did their job, I don't think people would seek an alternative, but they didn't do their job. And instead of saying, okay, guys, and you saw an article by Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is the billionaire Amazon, and he owns the Washington Post, and released an article saying, like, all right, guys, like, people have lost trust in the media. We got to be accurate. The truth isn't what we say it is. The truth is the truth. Like, it doesn't change. And it's apparently these guys haven't got the memo. So, like, and if you take a look at the numbers of this guy's publication, so he's the CEO of Axios. Like, I would be mad too, bro. So, it's gone down, and X is obviously
Can you click that, Nico? Click that picture. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, X is hitting, world, like, records. And this is a trend that you see across all of legacy media. And instead of them saying, okay, we got to pivot here, they double down and they ask for censorship. And they call you crazy and they gaslight you. That was the most epic of gaslights. I remember when the legacy media was telling me that there's a Bitcoin show, not all the other stuff. The legacy media was telling me, inflation is a conspiracy theory. That was bullshit. And the only place where people were actually able to speak the truth about what was actually going on with inflation, it was the internet. Like, if you were on Bitcoin Twitter, you knew that inflation was going to happen 2 years before it happened. If you were reading the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, or Reuters, you'd be like, no, Janet Yellen says it's not going to happen. So, this is a natural, progression of what happens when you use your platform to essentially lie. And that's not the truth across all legacy media. There's really good journalists and there's really good articles, and I read them all the time. But now what happens is you're going to get, especially if it gains traction, it's going to gain attention. Like, it's going to go viral. That clip is going to go viral. That Joe Rogan clip with that interview, whatever it is, it's going to go viral. And I'm telling you, there's something about telling the truth and the internet. I think it kind of goes along. And have you guys ever seen like the quote, which is like, some people can't meme? I'm not going to be specific, but it's like, some people can't meme. Well, it's like, some people can't meme because a meme is only funny when the common denominator is true. If the common denominator is not true, the potential for that meme to go viral is very low, because there needs to be kind of like this shared truth. And the only shared truth needs to be universal, right? So I think the internet has connected us, essentially humanity, this global consciousness together. And I think it's very, very difficult for you to propagate lies. I think in the old world, where you were able to control the narrative on TV, you were able to control the print narrative, it was a lot easier for you to control the truth, so to speak. I remember this really powerful tweet by Jack Posobiec, and he was basically like, if the internet would have existed in the 2000s, we would not have gone to war with Iraq. And I was like, holy like that is true, right? So yeah, man, I don't think legacy media has changed. I think the only thing has changed is the rise of social media and the rise of the ability for people to seek alternatives and seek the truth themselves, do research themselves, and then post about it. And I think the people that are the most successful in social media are the people that resonate with other people. And in my experience, you tend to have to tell the truth. That's been my experience. Maybe that's not true across the board, but I don't know, Opti. This is crazy, dude. This is nuts. I mean, how long have we been talking about this? We've been talking about this moment for years, but really watching it play out. And this is sad. I mean, imagine a year from now. I don't think CNN's going to exist in half a decade or a decade. The way that we're going, I don't think it's going to exist. And what type of world is that? Because we haven't experienced that. We have never experienced that. CNN has always been around. NBC has always been around. CNBC has always been around. What's the world going to look like when the mainstream media, and Elon says it best, when the media is you, Anon? What's that world to look like? I think it's going to be very, very interesting, to say the least. Here's Elon Musk. He says, you're the media now. X what you know, X what you hear, X what you see. Here's the most popular broadcaster on the face of the earth, Joe Rogan, talking about it.
It's like, what is it, citizen journalist? How did Elon Musk put it? It's like, you are now the journalist, or how, I'm misquoting him, but
X is mainstream media now. That is the mainstream media. That's where most people are getting their news now.
The views speak for itself, you know? Like,
it's not just the views, it's the community notes. The fact that you can actually fact check these things. And then you have all these brilliant people that are participating in this live debate in real time online about what's real and what's not. Yeah. And you're finding all, specifically with the when they found the Twitter files.
Oh
and
my
like,
God.
Jesus Christ, the FBI is involved in this? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
This is so crazy. The FBI is involved in deciding what's real and what's not on Twitter.
unreal.
And you're banning journalists. You're banning scientists. Like, this is really crazy.
Yeah, and it's bad for society.
It's
you know, it's
terrible.
caused irreparable harm.
So I'm going to stop it right there. I'm going to kind of open up to session. I think that's been happening for a long time. I think the only thing has changed is now we have the ability to talk about it on a mass scale. That's the only thing that's changed. And I'm telling you, the same thing is going to happen to money. It's just a matter of time. All the gaslighting, the only thing that has changed from 20 years ago is that we can fact check it about it in real time, and we can discuss about it on a mass scale in real time. That's the only thing that's changed. I don't think media has changed. I think they're doing the exact same thing. I think our ability to talk about it is there because of social media. Now, I'm going to talk, it's the same thing's going to happen with money. I think we're going to reach a critical point when the percentage of the global populace is no longer using fiat, and they're using an alternative. It could be a stable coin, or it could be Bitcoin. The reality is that stable coins have a ton of adoption in developing countries. But the point that I'm trying to make is that it's an alternative to the local fiat currency. Now, the difference between social media and I think money is that governments get a tremendous amount of power from being able to print their own money. So I think that's going to get nuts. Like, look at how much they wanted to censor. Look at how much they wanted to censor, because they wanted to keep control of the narrative. They wanted to keep what is the truth, what is not the truth. Can you imagine how much power governments had? Basically, okay, this is the truth. If you question it, we'll deplatform you, we'll censor you. You know, you're not allowed to have a voice. And then all of a sudden came internet, and then, you know, Elon acquired Twitter, you know, the rise of Nostr, rise of whatever, rise of critical thinking, and then there's alternatives. Dude, it's so crazy. Opti, am I seeing shit? Because this is nuts, bro.
Well, first of all, that clip was absolutely hilarious. The amounts of cope in that video was off the charts. That was too funny. And the fact that he's just like yelling basically that us. I know he's probably in a room full of reporters and it's like rhetoric that they all enjoy. They're all clapping, and then the TV hosts are also like, yeah, like those dumb people out there reading social media, why aren't they trusting the experts? It's like, it's just absolutely hilarious. It's super funny to me. And in reality, they should kind of take a page out of Jeff Bezos' book. I mean, that opinion piece that he wrote for the Washington Post, I think, is the biggest signal that we've been kind of talking about the last couple of months, is that the corporate press, the propaganda machines, quote unquote, mainstream media, as people still call it, is a propaganda machine. We all know, and we've been seeing it for the last couple of years, especially, the last 4 years, that they basically get their information, or rather their talking points, from up high, and then they propagate those quote unquote truths. And now that they're losing that monopoly on narrative creation, they're freaking out. And instead of looking at themselves in the mirror and being like, oh, maybe we are detached from reality, maybe we should take some market feedback and change course, a la what Jeff Bezos was saying in the Washington Post, they're yelling at us and being like, no, we're the media. Like, it's, how hard it is to be a reporter. You can't just claim yourself to be a reporter. You need the, you need the accolades. Like, you need the degree to be a reporter. And everyone else is like, cool story, bro. Like, I'm going to fact check you live on Twitter. And hey, guess what? You're wrong. And now everyone is starting to wake up to the fact that the public press, the corporate press, the propaganda machines, they're just that. They're propaganda. They aren't here to tell you the truth. They're here to tell you a story and a narrative. And I think we've gotten to the point with social media at large, or rather the internet at large, that people are tired of being lied to. And I think this should be one of those moments where they look at themselves in the mirror and be like, maybe we should change course. Maybe there's something wrong that we're doing. But no, they just choose to, try to gaslight us and chastise us and tell us, trust the experts. Remember a couple of years ago, they did their headlines of, don't do your own research. Trust the experts, bro. Like, trust the experts. And now we're all realizing, like, wait, the experts were either one, wrong, or they were maliciously lying to us. And I don't know about you guys, but when I find out that someone was either wrong or purposefully lying to me, I tune them out. Like, that's how this thing works. And so the fact that they're freaking out and they're like, why is no one listening to us? So, with their nose held up high and, in their suits, and all of us in hoodies and stuff on Twitter, anon accounts just fact checking in real time. It's like, look, dude, if you guys were actually telling the truth, then people would probably still listen to you. But you kind of overstepped your power and you've lied to the population. You've been beholden to, bigger lobbying groups than what we like to hold ourselves to, which is the standard of trying to be truthful and authentic and actually seeking what is happening in the world. They're still yelling at us. And it's like, okay, bro, like, cool story, boomer. You're old news. Like, this is a new paradigm. Either adopt to what is happening in the digital age and tell the truth, or you're going to be a dinosaur that gets hit by the comet. And this is where they are. Like, I find the amount of cope in that video is just so funny to me. And I do kind of agree with one point, like, being a journalist coming in every single day, quote unquote journalist, a reporter every single day. Like, it is hard. Like, I agree with him, like showing up every day, trying to find important things to talk about and trying to get to the bottom of the truth every single day. Like, it is tiresome. It does kind of wear on you, but hey, that's your job. Like, don't yell at people if you're not doing your job correctly and you're not telling people the truth. It's like, either adapt or perish. And, give Bezos and the Washington Post the benefit that they realize the problem. It's like, no one trusts the mainstream media anymore. So do something about it versus yelling at us. It's like, cool story, bro. Like, the amounts of cope I'm hearing from you just means you don't know what is actually going on. Stop being a propaganda machine. It's that simple.
100%, dude. I think you hit the nail on the head. And like, dude, this wouldn't be happening if they did their job. Like, the fact that this is happening is because, and someone actually pointed this out in the comments, and it reminds me of the central banks, the same reaction when they're talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin isn't money. Reality check. Journalists in Bitcoin and central bankers, you guys don't determine what is a journalist or what is money. The market determines what is a journalist and what is money. Opti, do you remember a year and a half ago when we were just starting up And I was like, and I told him, I'm like, Opti, like, we're kind of like reporters, bro. Like, we kind of have to like get the news and like, we kind of tell people, Opti and I don't have a background. But the reason that I think, you know, this picked up steam is because I think we were identifying certain truths and then obviously looking at it from a Bitcoin lens, and no one else was doing that. No one else was looking at the news from a Bitcoin lens. And I think the same kind of applies to the media and the rise of X. It's like, if they deplatformed a president, bro, and then they spent the last 4 years trying to, you know, paint a certain narrative, and then, you know, what happened?
Oh, and further, they jailed a journalist for exposing things that they didn't like, and he went into exile, and then they, you know, ran him through the gutter.
Yeah.
And like, oh, we're the bad guys for not listening to you. Like, I thought you guys were talking about truth. Sorry, that's not what happens here.
100%. And again, like, if it was illegal in your country, because it is illegal, right? It's America has the First Amendment, though, where speech is protected. That shouldn't be happening. And as a Bitcoiner, you should love freedom of speech. I think it goes hand in hand with Bitcoin culture and the Bitcoin ethos. So it's like, dude, I think they failed, and I think they're getting replaced. And instead of like looking at them, I'm telling you that they have professional backgrounds and they have the resources. If they really wanted to, they can just start like, okay, let's use our journalistic background to fucking crush it on X, bro, and build a platform. You can totally do it, and you're going to have the advantage over people that are self-taught. But you can't believe it that now you have competition from the everyday person, and that gets under your skin, and you can't believe it. And you see the central bankers, they react the same way with the same hostility and hubris towards Bitcoin. They can't stand the fact that people are using an alternative, because in their minds, they were the truth. They got to decide what is money. They got to decide what is truth and what is not true. So, man, what a time to be alive. And the second stage is only just beginning, and I'm all here for it. All right, everybody, let's get to the news. We have tons to talk about. Let's check it out.
Very special shout out to our sponsor, Compass Mining. They make Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone, from beginners to experienced investors. Their turnkey miners gets you online and hashing within 48 hours, making it easier than ever to start your mining journey. Plus, with their active marketplace, you can resell your miner at any time, adding flexibility and value to your investment. Visit their website to access a wealth of resources, learning everything you need to know about Bitcoin mining. Take your first step into the world of Bitcoin mining with confidence. Discover more at compassmining.io. Again, compassmining.io, and see how Compass Mining can power your success. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US, and it integrates seamlessly with their free app called Envoy. Passport is fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet design with a UX reminiscent of a classic feature phone, so you'll know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. It's also air-gapped, meaning Bitcoin stays offline, never touching an internet connection. It's Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, air-gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes with Passport at foundation.xyz/simply. Get peace of mind for your piece of Bitcoin.
But you want to take self-custody of your coins. And the way that we recommend doing that is obviously getting yourself a hardware wallet, and you want an open source hardware wallet. And I recommend the Passport by Foundation devices. Opti is showing it off right now. You can use promo code SIMPLY to get a discount. It won't get you Opti, but it will get you a discount on the Passport by Foundation devices. Not your keys, not your cheese. Take self-custody of your Bitcoin. Get yourself a Passport. All right, everybody, let's get to today's news. So kind of a continuation of what we were saying about earlier in the beginning of the show. Opti, is 2025 the year that Bitcoin becomes mainstream? Like, I know we've been saying that for years now. It's like my 8th year of saying that, but it feels close. And you know what? It kind of reminds me of the adoption of social media and the replacement of legacy media with X. Like, it was like this slow and gradual process. It didn't happen overnight. It happened over, you know, like half a decade or a decade if you've been paying attention. And then all of a sudden, one day it was black and white. Like one day you woke up and you're like, yeah, you have to be on X. Was it Elon acquiring the platform? I think it was a combination of things, bro. I think it was Donald Trump. It was Elon. It was Joe Rogan. I remember when Jack Dorsey went on Joe Rogan with Tim Pool and the Twitter lawyer lady. And I remember listening to that podcast with like a super open mind. And then after that, I was like, holy shit, she just gaslit us. And then Elon went in there, bought Twitter at the time for like 44 billion. And then he released the Twitter files. And then you're like, holy shit, like government agencies are asking, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and then of course that made you kind of go down the rabbit hole. Anyways, so got sidetracked. Rumble, which alternative platform we're huge fans of. The day that Simply got deplatformed, we were actually streaming on Rumble, and man, it was so great to see all you guys there. A huge fan of this platform. We post there every single day. Shout out to the Rumble audience. But huge news, and I think a lot of this has to do with Saylor kind of trolling them a little bit, like poking them. Breaking news: Rumble announces Bitcoin treasury strategy. Rumble's Bitcoin allocation strategy will include purchases at the discretion of the company of up to $20 million. So let's check out the full press release. Let's check it out. Rumble, the publicly traded company, NASDAQ ticker RUM, the video sharing platform and cloud sharing service provider, announced today that its board of directors has approved a corporate treasury diversification strategy of allocating a portion of the company's excess cash reserves to Bitcoin. This move emphasizes Rumble's belief in Bitcoin as a valuable tool for strategic planning and is designed to accelerate the company's expansion into cryptocurrency. Rumble's Bitcoin allocation strategy will include purchases at the discretion of the company of up to $20 million. Quote, "We believe that the world is still in the early stages of the adoption of Bitcoin, which has recently accelerated with the election of crypto-friendly U.S. presidential administration and increased institutional adoption. Unlike any government-issued currency, Bitcoin is not subject to the dilution through endless money printing, enabling it to be a valuable inflation hedge and an excellent addition to our treasury. Quote, "We are also excited to strengthen our ties with crypto and to bolster our efforts to become the leading video and cloud service platform for the crypto community." It goes on to say the actual timing and value of Bitcoin purchases, if any, under the allocation strategy will be determined by management and its discretion and will depend on several factors, including, among others, general market and business conditions, the trading price of Bitcoin, and the anticipated cash needs of Rumble. The allocation strategy may be suspended, discontinued, or modified at any time for any reason. So, I mean, dude, this is crazy. And again, like, why is this happening, everybody? This is happening because you can't ignore Michael Saylor anymore. Like, the fact that he is the best performing stock of 2024. Like, Microsoft is even looking and they're saying, like, what the fuck, right? Eventually, your shareholders are going to put pressure on you, and this is what's happening. So Rumble sees this as an opportunity. Again, Rumble is very interesting because they have a very large hill to climb when it comes to YouTube. YouTube has the network effect. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. And they're like, okay, I need to find an edge. Very similar kind of story to Saylor MicroStrategy. And he found that edge with Bitcoin. So is Rumble going to be, I mean, they're going to have a better treasury strategy, that's for sure. But I just find this really, really interesting, man. This is really, really cool. Shout out to the Rumble team. Huge fan of the platform, like I said. Really big fan also that they're huge proponents of free speech. They don't deplatform. I think that's really, really cool. As a content creator, I think the whole idea of deplatforming is, it's very scary. Imagine building a business for years and then all of a sudden, you know, it's pretty crazy, man. So anyways, Opti, what are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm a huge fan of Chris Pavlovsky. His Twitter is great. He does seem to be an advocate for free speech. And, you know, I commend his battle to try to, you know, dethrone YouTube from that supremacy. Obviously, we're on YouTube, we're on Rumble. We love both of those platforms. You know, like you said, YouTube's the second biggest search engine in the world. I always say, like, if you're on YouTube, you're basically not on the internet. But it is very interesting that Rumble is becoming home for a lot of people that, you know, can't say what they want to say in other places. And I think it's a perfect fit for them to add Bitcoin to their treasury. Though some of that press release was kind of interesting, you know, at their discretion, maybe they're going to suspend it, et cetera, et cetera. Personally, I would just say, hey, Chris, you know, just smash by that 20 million right now, add it to your treasury. And I'm telling you, 2025, you're going to be very happy you did. Now, the second aspect of this was this idea of, you know, trying to be a home base for the quote unquote crypto community. I think one thing that he could really do that would, you know, not only kind of threaten a lot of the stuff going on Nostr, but really put a dent to YouTube is if he unleashed Bitcoin payments and, you know, Bitcoin super chats or whatever you call it over on Rumble. And if they implemented that, like, that would make Rumble be, you know, very, very interesting moving forward, especially if they don't do as much of the, you know, the cut that other platforms do. So, like, I think this is a great step. Obviously, it is kind of funny that it took like 6 days after Saylor talked to Chris for him to add it to his treasury. So maybe Saylor's getting better at that pitch, but it's a perfect fit. Like, I know a lot of people have been not only deplatformed but demonetized and are either now on Rumble or other places that are also Bitcoiners. And right now it's like it's a match made in heaven. You know, if you are a free speech maxi, you're seeing the price go up, you're getting richer than ever. And it's very interesting that a lot of people that have been deplatformed are Bitcoiners, and now it's like we're the ones succeeding. So, like, yeah, you can cut us off. Well, rather, in the past, you could have cut people off your platform, cut them off the monetary system, and they would be done. You know, they would be nuked. Like, it's still an uphill battle if you get banned from all these other places. But if you find your home on Rumble and you're saving in Bitcoin, like, it is interesting that the people that think a lot like us are the ones that are now succeeding and profiting. And it's like, hey, man, you know, this is one of those things like we're seeing with the media, you know, that last clip we just played. It's like, look, you shot yourselves in the foot, and the very people you didn't want to see succeed have now found themselves a new home and a new money. And moving forward, it seems like those people are the ones that are going to succeed. So again, you know, moving forward in the rest of this decade, if you want to succeed, you might want to find places where you can speak freely and find a money that they can't cut you off of, which is obviously Bitcoin. So I think this is a match made in heaven for Rumble. And of course, Chris has been a Bitcoiner for a long time. He's been very active and very, you know, vocal about Bitcoin. Now, let's see that push and add some, you know, lightning zaps to Rumble or Bitcoin super chats or whatever you want to call it. Like, that would be so tight.
That'd be so tight. And it's so easy to implement too. That'd be sick, man. You got me excited. Anyways, shout out to Rumble for adopting a Bitcoin treasury. I think in the next halving, so in 2028, 2029, it's going to become abundantly clear that they made a phenomenal decision. And I think by that time, it's going to be clear that without a shadow of a doubt, what Saylor is doing was a great decision as well. And of course, I think that's going to cause pressure for other companies to have no choice but to adopt a Bitcoin strategy. All right, everybody, let's get to the culture. We have a lot to talk about today.
Our sponsor, HIVE Digital Technologies. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's been battle tested through every possible market. And as the first with an AI strategy, HIVE continues to redefine the future of sustainable energy. Also, gotta casually drop this in here, HIVE consistently tops the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're changing the game. Learn more by following them at HIVE Digital Tech or check out their website, hivedigitaltech.com.
Everybody, I do want to give a very special shout out to our sponsor, the Orange Pill app. Stack friends who stack sats. The Orange Pill app is the perfect app for you to connect with Bitcoiners on the go. So if you're traveling to a city for a conference and you don't know any people around you, you pull up the Orange Pill app and has a really clever geographical feature that allows you to send a message to Bitcoiners near you. It's also the #1 resource for Bitcoin only events. Download the Orange Pill app today, scan the QR code, or check the link in the video description. I also want to give a shout out to our sponsor, BitBlockBoom. Guys, this is going to be one of the best Bitcoin conference in 2025. This is the conference where me and Opti actually met in person for the first time. It's the perfect conference if you're trying to network, if you're trying to get a job in the industry, you want to meet your favorite Bitcoiners, you got to go to BitBlockBoom. The conference isn't big enough so that, you know, a lot of people get lost in the sauce. There's too many people. There's too many crowds. It's just the right size so you can approach your favorite Bitcoiners, have a conversations with them, and network with them. It's going to be April 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th of 2025, and it's going to be in the great state of Texas in the city of Dallas. So again, you don't want to miss it. The whole Simply Bitcoin crew will be there. Me, Opti, Dante, Rustin, Jacob, Sophie, everyone. It's going to be a great, great time. Check out BitBlockBoom. Go to bitblockboom.com today. And if you use promo code BBB21, you get a small discount on your ticket. All right. Opti, what are we talking about today, bro? What is the culture? We're changing seats, man. I was in the culture seat for the last 3 days. You were in the host seat. Now we're changing back. What's going on, dude?
So I am doing a little commentary on where we are right now in the cultural zeitgeist around Bitcoin. And honestly, it's a fitting day considering that Axios clip that we saw of them kind of coping in regards to who the media is now. Well, we're seeing something similar play out, and we're getting some good examples. And of course, we're going to start with everyone's favorite Neil Kashkari, president of the Federal Reserve. If you're new to Bitcoin, he's famously went on 60 Minutes and they asked him, so can the US ever run out of money? And he's like, no, we have infinite money. We can print dollars forever. We will never run out of money. And, you know, that was a couple of years ago. And now we got this new clip of him talking about Bitcoin. He's been a Bitcoin skeptic forever. And let's just listen to his view here on, you know, what's the use case of Bitcoin, bro?
I want to touch on cryptocurrencies. You've been a major critic. In fact, you talked about how cryptocurrencies are like a giant garbage dumpster at one point. I mean, with Bitcoin getting close to $100,000, how are you feeling about cryptocurrencies now?
Well, the question that I've been asking for the last 7 or 8 years continues. What can you actually do with it other than just speculating on it? I understand it's an article of speculation, and that's fine. If people want to speculate on it, that's fine. They can speculate on anything they would like. But does it actually have any utility in an advanced economy? Can you buy things with it? Do people buy things with it? At least in the US, the answer is a resounding no. Almost nobody buys anything using Bitcoin. Then it was supposed to be an inflation hedge. And then when inflation took off in the US, Bitcoin got crushed. So it wasn't an inflation hedge. So it's not a useful payment tool. It's not an inflation hedge. Is it merely a speculative asset as an instrument of speculation? If that's all it is, that's fine. People can be free to speculate on whatever they would like. But I would like us to be clear on what this is and what this is not. And I'm waiting for anybody to explain to me how it is actually useful in an advanced economy. And I just haven't seen it yet.
All right, well, first off,
okay. Wait, Opti, how much does that sound like the reporter?
Exactly.
Meltdown?
100%. That's why it's like synchronicity here. Well, first of all, though, I do want to, before I move on a little bit, I do want to kind of point out the irony here that Neil Kashkari is basically like, you can't buy coffee with it, bro. Like, who uses this? It's not, what's the use case of this? I don't know, opting out of the fact that you can print infinite dollars and make us all broker, like something that cannot be debated. Something that is actually able to, you know, save its purchasing power over time. Or as Larry Lepard said, quote tweeting us, he's like, not useful, not an inflation hedge. How do you like them apples, Mr. Central Banker? Like, keep stealing from us. We're going to make you obsolete. This is all we have to say. And you can see Bitcoin versus traditional assets ROI. You know, 14 years to 1 year, it's outperforming everything because obviously, as we say all the time, everything divided by 21 million, hard capped, permissionless, decentralized, censorship resistant, something that they cannot steal from you, something that they cannot debase. I don't know about Neo Kashkari, but that sounds like a use case to me, something that I can send around the world without you guys telling me what I can do with that. Anyways, let's move on because Nico, I'm gonna match two things together here because we're seeing that other people are taking a different view here. Now, this is coming from the Sydney Morning Herald, this guy, William Bennett, and this is kind of reminding me of 2017 vibes, where as Bitcoin starts to hit these psychological round numbers, you're seeing people start to flip-flop and be like, maybe we were wrong about this. Maybe Bitcoin isn't tulip bubble. Maybe this isn't a Ponzi scheme. So I want to read a little bit of this, and then Nico and I will chat about it. So here's an opinion piece on the Sunday Morning Herald again, and it goes, "It's tough to admit it, but I was wrong about Bitcoin." And he starts off by saying, "It's time for us Bitcoin skeptics to eat some humble pie. We were wrong. And ever since Donald Trump got elected or won the U.S. election and is a presidential elect or presidential candidate to be, Bitcoin has run up 40% and is flirting at 100K. And again, this is reminding me of when Bitcoin first broke the 10K level of Bitcoin. And here we go. So more than $4 billion US has flowed into ETFs since the election alone. And Bitcoin, again, is the best performing, quote, asset class, up more than 130% this year, ahead of gold, up 32%, and the U.S. market up 25%. I don't know, Neo, that sounds like a use case to me. Yes, he's saying it's just for speculation, but I don't know, maybe there's a use case here that is obviously hard for you to understand when it's your job to continue to print more paper money. So going on, some liken Bitcoin to digital gold and a way to hedge against a doomsday-like scenario in which the U.S. government defaults on its debt, which is growing at $6.3 billion a day. That sounds like a use case to me, Neo Kashkari. The fundamentals, or lack thereof, mean that the price of Bitcoin is driven by nothing more than sentiment and simple supply and demand, and I would add economics. It's a serious struggle for the non-believers like me who dismiss crypto as a joke and nothing more than a Ponzi scheme, best left to the likes of gamblers and criminals. But now we are watching like stunned mullets as the price increases week after week, and they're going to be even more stunned in 2025. It doesn't provide yield, pay a dividend, or have inherent physical value. It's not accepted as a payment form in many places, but in the end, does that really matter? Bitcoin has disrupted the world in the finance the same way that Trump disrupted politics or social media disrupted news. It's all about the vibes, man. We oldies just don't get it. And quote, "I have not bought crypto and now I feel silly," the CEO of Charles Schwab, the largest broker in the U.S., told Bloomberg last week. And again, this whole culmination is him trying to wrap his head around what a lot of traditional financial people or economists would think about Bitcoin, because, you know, it doesn't have cash flow, it doesn't pay dividends, it doesn't look like what they're used to. They're safe bets that only, you know, provide them 6% a year interest. We have Bitcoin that is just ripping. I forget what the number exactly is, but it was like 46% year over year gains on Bitcoin, and it doesn't even account for the bull runs, which is basically where we're going. It's going to blow up. All right, so this is the last part I'm going to read. Having never held Bitcoin, I don't have any seller's remorse, but spare a thought for those who sold too early. With FOMO reaching excruciating levels, I'm finding myself wondering if it's too late to change teams and join the crypto bros whom I once derided and now resent. Coming from a trading background, I have been both bullish and bearish Bitcoin in the past, but right here, right now, I would prefer to be a buyer of pullbacks in Bitcoin. And over the next week or so, I think we would see a run up towards 110K before a retracement, and then the longer term, a move into the 130, 150K range isn't out of the question. So it's very interesting that we're seeing. Of course, this is just an opinion piece. It's not the corporate press out there, but I think this is kind of a culmination of what you're starting to hear from Main Street, from just average people, that as Bitcoin hits these psychological round numbers, obviously breaking 100K, you're going to start to see the capitulation happen in real time. And yes, of course, Neo Kashkari's, job is dependent on him being against Bitcoin. You're going to see more people start to follow suit. And this is exactly exactly what happened in 2017 when Bitcoin hit these psychological round numbers. The first one, of course, was 10K, and then it hit 20K, and then later on, you know, we got the 50K, 60K. Now we're at 90K, and we're kind of flirting with that 100K line right now. And you're starting to see new people in the space kind of wonder, like, oh, Bitcoin's over. It, you know, dropped 6%, bro. Like, what's happening? Why isn't it going straight up and to the right? Well, this is very normal during bull runs. Bitcoin does have retracements. It does consolidate, and then it starts ripping. But it is very interesting that you're seeing a fork in the road right now where the unproductive class, those people at the central bank, a lot of politicians still are actively fighting Bitcoin when you're seeing the sentiment change on an individual level. Like I said earlier, I'm seeing a bunch of TikToks and Instagrams about either people kind of grappling with the Bitcoin price. They're starting to kind of be bullish on Bitcoin mining. They're like, well, I just buy a computer and, you know, I can make 70K on it. Or you're starting to see, you know, some more like shitcoin, meme coins trends going on. So you're starting to see, I think personally, that the cultural zeitgeist is shifting. And now going into 2025, as Bitcoin runs in these crazy price levels, I think we might be in for, like Nico said earlier, Bitcoin entering the mainstream consciousness and people starting to embrace Bitcoin, considering that, you know, the last couple of years, I think people are the brokest they've ever been. Remember the meme of inflation is transitory? And then everyone figured out that, wait, no, I'm actually getting broker than I've ever been. Inflation was one of the big hot button topics of this election, is because people are broke right now. They understand there's something wrong with the money inherently. They might understand it subconsciously, but moving forward, people are going to start to gravitate towards the best money, the best performing asset in all of the assets. People want the gains. As we always say, you come for the money and you stay to fix the money. But it is very interesting, Nico, and it is kind of a good summation of what the show was about, where you're seeing the unproductive class, you know, the experts out there fight the truth, whether that's social media, whether that's news, or whether that's Bitcoin, and then kind of the individuals being like, hey, I get my news from Twitter. Hey, my money is Bitcoin. Like, I don't care what you say anymore. You guys aren't telling me the truth anyways. So I'm going to do my own research and I'm going to ape into some Bitcoin and live a good life.
Amen, bro. Beautifully put. And I can't help but, and you know, it's what you said, Opti. Like, if you are to connect the dots on today's show, like, me and Opti essentially covered the same topic. He just covered a central banker. I covered journalism. And it's funny because when I was covering the first part, I was like, wait a second, this sounds exactly what the central banks say. And then again, by coincidence, Opti covered the culture, and it was to focus on what the central banks are saying. And they're saying the same shit. It's like, we determine what is the truth. We determine what is money. And essentially what society has allowed is, and the internet has allowed, and social media has allowed, is like, now you have a choice. And look, if the choice wasn't better, I don't think most people would take it. I think that they would stay with like the status quo. Problem is when the choice is better. That's the problem. And that's the problem that governments are going to have, not only with money, but with also information. With X, they're going to have a harder and harder time propagating certain narratives. It's going to be a really difficult thing. And now we're like the public, like the mainstream consciousness is awake. Their content creator is Joe Rogan. It's not MSNBC, right? So, you know, in that environment, the truth is going to win. In that environment, it's not about the narrative. It's about what is actually happening. And in that environment, that's exactly where Bitcoin flourishes. Because if they no longer control the narrative, how are you going to answer this question if you're a government? Why should I lose money that is designed to lose purchasing power over time? Why should I lose money that is designed to steal from me? What is inflation? Why is inflation necessary? Why do I have to pay taxes on why is it that if I choose to opt out of fiat and I use Bitcoin, why in the money that isn't designed to lose purchasing power do I have to pay capital gain? I'm not saving in an asset and then selling that. I'm just using, why do I have to pay capital gain? These are very difficult questions. And because of the internet, they can no longer gaslight us. So they're going to have to answer them. And the problem is that there is no good answer to those questions. You're going to have to tell the truth. Look at how that central banker made a fool of himself. Made a total fool of himself. And look at how that journalist CEO made a fool of himself. Because you can do this with your hands all you want, and you could call Elon a bullshitter, and you call him whatever. Just answer the question. Why did you guys lie to us? Why did you say that like inflation? I'm just going to cover that topic, but you guys can connect the dots on your own. Why did you say that inflation was misinformation? Why did you say inflation was not real? Why couldn't you just tell us? And then why couldn't you admit that you were wrong? Why did you have to paint the people that were telling the truth as crazy people? Why? I don't understand. That's the problem. It's that not only were you wrong, you can't even admit that you were wrong because of how much you sniff your own farts, to put it bluntly. Like, you believe so much that you're a central banker, that you're a journalist. Like, central bankers are going to make mistakes. They're human beings, and so are journalists. But the fact that you can't admit that you made a mistake makes me question your legitimacy. And that's the problem, is that people have the ability to opt out of these archaic institutions, seek alternatives that I think are better, in my opinion. Opti has this pulled up.
Don't you trust this guy, Nico?
And instead of the institutions saying like, okay, maybe we got to change like course. No, they don't say that. They're just like, this is misinformation. These people are radical. These people are crazy. I'm sorry, dude. That doesn't work anymore, man. That doesn't work anymore. And like, look, I understand like that to me, and the sovereign individual actually talked about this. That to me is like a bit of a pain point, and I have a lot of empathy for it. If your job kind of depended on these, like the way that society was organized pre-internet, I have empathy for you. Like, that sucks. But that doesn't mean that you can't use your skills and your expertise to adapt to the internet and make the best out of it. But if you think you're going to fight the inevitable, like, it's not going to happen. You're not going to win. Like, have you seen the Guardian one? Like, we're no longer going to post on X. And it's like, okay, bro. Yeah. Good for you guys. That's wonderful. Like, that's on you.
No one cares.
Right? Remember when they had the meltdown of like individuals having the ability to buy blue check marks? And all the journalists were like, oh my God, that is terrible. That is horrible. How could they be on the same level as us? That's impossible. Like, the central bankers are saying the same shit. It's the same thing. It's the same message. We know what's best for you. We get to decide what is the truth, aka money. And you don't, we do. And then when you speak up, instead of them acknowledging what you're saying, they just say, no, you got to go away. It's not going to work anymore, man. It's a crazy, brave new world, but I'm all for it, and I think it's going to be a better world. All right, everybody, we are getting to the top of the hour. Today's show did pretty well. 505 live on YouTube. Shout out to all you guys. Shout out to the almost 100 of you guys watching on Rumble. And of course, shout out to the 2,000 of you guys watching live on X. If you guys enjoyed the show, smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. And of course, the number one thing you could do to help push the peaceful Bitcoin revolution is share Bitcoin content. We'll be back tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
You by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.